Welcome guys. This is a new call that we're going to start doing, and I am so excited about it. I love sales just about as much as I love anything in business. And I think the reason I love it so much is because I started off terrible at it. I was just sharing with our sales team that, even still, I have to do this. I'm not a challenger type personality. If I lean one way or the other, I'm probably more of a people pleaser. I'm not like Jordan's an Enneagram 8. It's in his nature to do this sort of thing. It's not in mine. So I have things that I have to do before every single sales call to remind myself why I'm doing what I'm doing and to get uncomfortable and to ask the uncomfortable questions. And I was just sharing this with our sales team because sales, it's not a skill that you have and then you're like, cool, I have it. Like coaching, you know that you like where to set a person's macros and what to do to get results. And it's okay, cool. It's like riding a bike. I'll go on autopilot. If you have a bad day in sales, it's like starting over. So it's all about energy. It's all about showing up. It's all about getting uncomfortable. So I'm really excited about this call. And I think, as we were talking about providing support to you guys, the best way that I found to do it is just reviewing calls live, because so much advice is circumstantial and I can't tell you what to say until you're there sometimes. And a lot of it's just about mindset things and thinking differently. So today, we're going to review a call of Soraya's. So Soraya has been in IFCA for what feels like forever. She's been with us for a long time and she's in Legacy now. So I'm excited to go through this. Soraya, before I jump into it, I'd like if you have any context on this call, maybe where did the lead come from? How do you know this person? How long have you been talking to her? And then any feedback or anything that you want to share.
Yeah, so this was from one of my DM reps set up the call. She is from Ohio and actually knows my assistant coach. They work at the same hospital. But I don't think she came in from that way. It was just like a coincidence. But yeah, it was all my setters. I think she had found me, started following me. They had a conversation and then we went from there.
Cool. Any feedback for yourself before we dive in?
I feel like I know it's more when it comes to handling objections. Like I think literally the only objection that I ever get is financial. So I have tried to handle it in different ways. And she is like a single, she's a single lady, like a single nurse. So I feel like I was a little pushier with the way I handled her objection, because I'm like, you literally live on your own. Like you don't need to talk to anyone else. Yeah. You should have a good grasp on your finances. Like, how do you not know if you can afford this kind of thing? Mm-hmm. And she, and the one thing I think I could have challenged her in the beginning when we were just like building rapport, she was telling me about all of these extra shifts she's picking up and making just tons of money. So I was like, okay, like you're literally saying you're making all this extra money, and I didn't bring that up when it came to the objection.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, I'm excited to dive in. Let me pull the call up here. And what I'll do is I'll probably just pause throughout and add a little bit of commentary, and then things that are long explanations or more of a process that I need to dive into, I'll save for the end. But like small little things, I'll probably just pause throughout. And I'm going to review the whole call because it's only like 38 minutes long and I can speed it up on 1.5 speed. It won't take that long. I think it'll be valuable.
Hi there. I don't know. I think you need to unmute yourself.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
There. I can hear you. I just can't see you.
Okay. Oh, Jesus. Hold on. I don't ever do this.
That's okay.
I don't know. Start. I don't know why it's not going. Oh, there. No, that's not it. I don't know. Why? I don't know. It's not letting me turn my camera on unless I like do something in my settings.
Oh.
Hold on. Settings, Zoom, private. I don't know. I can see if I can figure it out real quick.
Yeah. I'll give you a minute or two. If not, then that's okay.
Zoom. Oh my God. Good Lord.
I know. Zoom could be so complicated.
Honestly, because I literally never use it ever.
So just this is silly, but I run into this all the time. And so having a couple of Zoom troubleshooting things in your back pocket are helpful. And it also allows you to grab authority really quickly. It's like, I know what I'm doing here. So I would say, are you on your phone or your computer? And then if they're on the computer, it's like, okay, see that little thing that's your, what does it look like? I have to have my screen up. The microphone. If you click the arrow above that, you should have blah, blah, like just give them a couple quick little tips just to be like, I'm doing business here. I have these conversations all day long.
Yeah. One thing I found is people who log in for the first time, Zoom makes them like log out, go into their settings, make sure they can do the camera and then log back in. So
Yeah.
she ended up doing that. So yeah, the first couple minutes you could probably just like speed up.
Yeah. Even just sharing those quick things with her, it psychologically sets a tone, I think.
I worked Saturday and then yesterday.
Okay. How was
Yeah.
that?
It was okay.
I want to see for your opener.
Now you just need to unmute and then we're good.
Now we're good.
Now we're good.
God.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I feel like it's been so long since we talked, even though it was just last week. Like, did you, I can't even remember. Did you have to work this weekend?
I worked Saturday and then yesterday.
Okay. How was that?
It was okay. Yeah, it wasn't terrible. I think it's tough because like they give me, so like being an ICU nurse, right? And because I travel, they give me like the really simple patients, which is kind of like a pain in the butt. And it's like, I don't need these like simple, like give me ICU patients. Like I don't always step down patients. So it was like, I don't know, it was just like frustrating. It just, and like at the end of my shift, because it's like my patient's trying to climb out of bed and the nurse I was giving a report to was like, just asking questions that like, I don't know. It was just kind of like, it was just annoying. And then the patient pulled out her FMS and it was just a mess. It was a mess. So.
Goodness.
Yeah.
I will say, I just don't miss that. Like I loved being a nurse, but since I quit in 2020 to do this full time, I always ask like, how are your shifts to, all the nurses? Because it's still fun to like relate and talk nursing and all that good stuff. Yeah. But when most of the responses, it wasn't terrible, right? Because we've gotten so used to like shit. Like, it's terrible. Like that's like what a good answer is.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, even the other day on Saturday, so they floated me like every 4 hours. So I started out in like the surgical ICU, then I floated to a med surg floor to fold linens and put linens, I swear to God. And then they floated me to the cardiac ICU. And like, and I'm not gonna complain because if you want to pay me what you pay travelers, that's fine. But you're literally utilizing me to put linen away. Like that is mind blowing to me. That is so mind blowing to me.
Right. That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's like, it definitely gets frustrating at times. For sure. So
I think we, after a while, established a rule where you couldn't float like 3 times like that, or like 3 different units, because it's like, how much do you really get done in those 4 hours? And you don't even get 4 hours because by the time you like give report and then like get to your next unit, get report. And it's like, well, granted, you don't give report to linens, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just,
yeah.
Oh goodness. All right. When do you go back?
What's today? Tuesday, Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
Yeah. So
well, hopefully better days are to come.
Yeah. You know what though? I mean, it really hasn't been bad for what I'm doing. I guess like I should say for what I'm making and like the patients that they give me, I shouldn't complain because it really hasn't been bad at all. It really hasn't. You know, so like, I mean, if that's what you want to continue like giving me like easy patients for the money that I make, okay.
Right.
Yeah. So I shouldn't complain, I guess.
Seriously. Yeah. I mean, it could be worse, right? And that's a good mindset to have. Like it's one of those like, okay, how do we look at this glass half full? Like,
yeah. Well, and that's, I think like from where I came from, it was pretty bad. It was really bad. Yeah. So I think like, I just kind of look at it like, well, I'm not at the Cleveland Clinic anymore. So yeah. Grass is greener.
And so you said, right, you work in the same hospital as Gabby?
Yes.
And are you guys, like, she just told me that you guys like are in a new hospital, like it's brand new?
Yeah.
Okay. Because
she's not though. She's still in the building. Yeah. Because she's
in like a week. Yep.
Yeah. I think she said next week or something like that. She was messaging me about it like on Instagram.
Oh, crazy. Yeah. Well, let's talk about your goals again. Let's kind of bring that back up. And my goal during this call is to really make sure like I understand your goals, you understand the ins and outs of the program, ask any questions that you might have, and build that skeleton solution to help you get from where you're at to, I think you said losing, I have notes, 15 to 20 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And not only losing that, but losing it forever. Because that's Gabby and my goal is we're not here just to like crash diet people or help them lose the weight. We really want to make this like, okay, this is it. Like, this is the last like coaching program you ever need.
Right.
You're not buying expensive supplements and shakes and things like that, not replacing your meals. So does that all sound good and fair?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, good. So let's talk about the 15 to 20 pounds and tell me why that number, out of curiosity. I always like to know like what makes you like specifically say like 15 to 20 pounds.
Probably because I mean right now, so I get the last time I weighed myself was probably before maybe like Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And I was like, I think I was like 158 maybe. So I almost call it 160. But so I guess I could say 25 pounds, but, and because I know like 130, 140 isn't a bad weight, that's a healthy weight. And I feel like for me, I don't think I need to be 120 pounds, I guess. You know what I mean? Like that, I think that if I went any lower than like, even say 125, I think that would just be like, I think I would focus too hard on that number. And in the past, like when obviously the older I've gotten, like when you start gaining weight, I think from my Herbalife days and when I used to do all that, I think I focused so.
Real fast before we get too far away from it. And I'm keeping notes. I'll give majority of the feedback at the end, but there's no frame that lets her know that she needs to make a decision on this call. So we can pull up the sales script and we can really go through, we can try to find your voice and tonality in it. But off the top of my head, here's what I used to do. I'd set the frame of like what we're going to talk about, and we're going to see if, we can help you lose those 15 to 20 pounds and lose them for good. But I talk to a lot of people every single day, and committing to things like this are tough. I totally get that. So here's an agreement that I'd love if you'd be willing to make with me. By the end of this call, we can move forward and do this. And you can say, hell yeah, this is the thing that I've been looking for. And this sounds like it's going to solve all of my specific problems as a nurse. And oh my God, I'm so glad this thing exists. Haha. Or you can say no. You can say like, nope, I don't think this is going to work, or I don't want to do it, or it doesn't sound like the right thing. But I ask people to make me a deal that they're not going to say maybe, because I know what that means. Maybe I'm going to think about it. The truth is we don't just like get off phone calls and sit in a rocking chair and think about things. Usually, let me think about that means I don't think it's going to work. I'd so much rather you be straight up with me. Can we be straight up on that call? Can you agree to that? And we can talk through that. It depends on the rapport and how you feel. Usually I don't know about you, but like, I don't like sit in a rocking chair and think about things. I kind of know. I don't want you to feel like you're going to hurt my feelings. Tell me no. Tell me it's not going to work. But I just want to be able to have that honest, transparent communication and know that we're either moving forward or not move forward. Do you think you can do that today?
Yeah, I like that.
That gets you out of so many of those later down the line.
So hard on how much weight I lost. And then I always had this image in my head of like, no, well, that's like what 115 pounds should look like, and not that it wasn't healthy, but I think like the older that I've gotten, I know that like 115 isn't a maintainable weight for me, so between, I think 130 and 140 is something that like I can maintain, and that's a healthy weight for me.
Okay. So have you been there previously where like, okay, this is easier for me to maintain than like the 115 area?
Yeah, because I've probably up until maybe like pre-COVID. Yeah, I've always been between like 125 and 135.
Okay.
And then COVID and so.
Okay, so
birth control doesn't help either. So
sure. Sorry, it cut out a little bit. Did you say you came off birth control or you went on?
No, I'm on it. So that doesn't help either,
Okay, so what I'm hearing is before COVID, you were around that weight.
Yeah, from what I can remember, it might have even been maybe like 2019. Through nursing school, I guess I should say, because I graduated nursing school in August of 2019. And yeah, I was probably like 135.
Okay. And what do you think like led to the weight gain?
Well, other than COVID and sitting at home, not being able to like go out and do things. One, I'm not a home workout person, so trying to work out at home wasn't for me at all. Eating like crap all the time too, or like restaurants that were only doing takeout. And mainly, the person that I was dating at the time was a huge alcoholic. So hanging around his friends, we were constantly having house parties, going to the bars when they reopened, stuff like that.
Okay. So, yeah, no, makes sense. Okay, so I know you said you have a friend's wedding coming up in September.
Yeah.
Is there any other like motivating factors, or like, I guess, how have you been feeling that makes you, on top of being in your friend's wedding, want to do this more?
Just to be healthier for myself, because I feel like crap all the time. Like I'm always tired. I don't sleep the best. And I obviously know that like nutrition plays back into that, and watching what I eat for dinner, or even like last night, like, should I have had a Diet Coke at 8 o'clock last night? Probably not. I know like stuff like that doesn't help, like when I try to go to bed. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So just not feeling good, wanting to be healthier, wanting to get energy. Anything else? Is there anything that, do you feel like maybe your confidence has taken a hit, or self-esteem, or maybe like the inner dialogue you tell yourself?
Kind of. Yeah, but I think it's like tough, because it's like, there's some days where like I go to the gym, or like you get on social media and you see
real fast. So this is going to be kind of a long aside, but I think it's valuable from a mindset perspective. So in 2008, when the market crashed, there were tons of people's businesses who that sunk, that did terrible. And there were some that really thrived. And some of those were still sales related positions and stuff like this. And so they did some research to figure out who's thriving in this kind of economy. And the type of salespeople that really thrived through that economy when everybody else was sinking were people who use challenge-based sales. And you might do some of this throughout the call, but we missed a really good opportunity to do it. So what challenge-based sales is it's challenging someone's thinking. They're on the call here with a trusted advisor. She has a problem, you have a solution. And when you challenge the way someone thinks, they get value out of that call, whether they sign up for the program or not. And so there's a fine line between coaching on the sales call and just doing the sales thing like we're taught to do. But you don't want to coach them on what to do. You want to coach them on how to think. So that whole like, probably shouldn't have had a Diet Coke at 8 p.m. Ha ha ha. That's probably my problem. You don't want to go into a whole reason about why, but then be like, wait, who told you that? Who said that? Why do you think like that? Oh, interesting. Next question, right? Start breaking down some of those so that she feels like, wait a minute, Soraya isn't afraid to give me some kickback and be that trusted advisor and be in that position of authority. I pick 2 or 3 throughout the call that I'm gonna jab at a little bit and try to just break down their way of thinking. By the end of this call, I want her to feel like, oh wait, I've never thought about it like this. Like, really, Diet Coke isn't my problem. Like, maybe everything I'm doing is absolutely wrong. Maybe I really need some help here.
These girls who are like skinny and look good or whatever it is. And I obviously, as females, I think that you always like compare yourself to other females. But at the same time, there's also other people that I follow, whether it be like TikTok or whatever it is, that are huge like body positivity people. And I think like the older that I've gotten too, that like I kind of look at things like I'm not going to look the same. Like Mercy, you can't look the same that you did when you were 21, 25, whatever it is. That's just not. You know what I mean? Your body changes, and so it's not healthy to like look how I was looking when I was doing Herbalife.
Yeah. What if you could look better? And not from a standpoint of necessarily better, meaning less weight, but
right.
If you looked just better, like really fit, really toned, really like, because I think that's one thing we all get caught up in it. Like you said, it's so easy to compare ourselves when we're scrolling through. And I think a mindset change that I've had to recently do is when I find myself comparing myself to the girls who have better bodies, it's like, that just shows that, hey, you know what, it is possible, right? Like it is possible to have a physique that looks really good. Because if everyone, let's just say everyone was just obese and it's like, well, this is just who we all are, right? Like no one knew that possibility of what it would look like to be like super fit and super toned and whatever, right? It like gives us a perspective of, oh, okay, well, that's a possibility.
That's exactly what I was talking about. You're like, okay, you have this belief that comparison's bad and blah, blah. What if comparison was good? And you didn't go off a whole side tangent, but it's just like, whoop, we're going to get that right out of the way. That gets people to go, damn, no one's ever really talked to me like this.
Possibility instead of like, well, I don't look like that. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just a different kind of frame of thought that it's hard. I'll tell you, it's hard. But something that we can do to ourselves because it's so easy to kind of talk down on ourselves, which is sad. It is, but it happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So why now then? Why is now a good time for you?
Because I'm sick of, again, being like tired and I guess feeling like crap all the time.
Like, how long has that lasted?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, probably if I'm being truthfully honest, probably like years. Okay. And yeah, I'm always tired. I don't sleep well. And I think I told you like with like my watch and stuff, when I like put it in the sleep mode, like I don't ever really hit like a decent amount of deep sleep, like X amount of nights in a row. I might have like 60 minutes of deep sleep like last night, and then I don't get that again for like days on end. So it's again, like the older that I get, I don't like feeling the way that I do. Like, even if I get 7 hours of sleep, I am always tired. I'm always tired. Okay. Yeah. Like no matter what time of day.
Okay. And then remind me how old you are?
31.
Sorry, I like to make little notes. Yeah, I definitely feel like once you hit 30, it's like, isn't this supposed to be our prime? Like, what's going on, right? And it's crazy how fast time flies, right? It's like, whoa. Like, how did we get here so quick?
You asked a really, really awesome question about how long's that been going on. There's a little game that you can play with yourself on sales calls sometimes to really get to the root. And I would play this game until I saw them like, all right, they're on the verge of tears. They understand that this is a big problem now. And the game is you can only ask a question off of what they're saying. So for example, how long has this been going on? Honestly, years. I can't sleep, blah, blah, whatever. Okay, so she can't sleep. So I have to take that thread and I have to follow it. dude, you don't sleep, you're working 12-hour shifts. How does that make you feel? Well, terrible, blah, blah. Oh, well, how do you know, showing up lethargic, how does that impact your food choices? Oh, yeah. And then are you like 10 pounds heavier now? You know what I mean? I can't really do it until but it's like tennis. If you just keep poking down the thing, it gets to the core rather than, okay, cool. I went a little deep, but now how old are you? How old are you? We are like going down another rabbit hole. She might get there on her own to be like, yeah, I'm 30 and I should be feeling awesome. And I'm not married and I don't have kids yet. And I feel so terrible that I don't have my health in check and I'm never going to be able to do it. But just keep following the same thread and it'll speed up your sales call a lot usually.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. My boyfriend literally this morning was like, what's today? And I was like 17. And he's like, are you kidding me? It's already the 17th. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you lie. I'm like, no, I swear to God, it's 17.
Yeah. That just shows like how quickly time just moves by. And it's like, okay, well, what's going to happen if you don't do anything? And it's going to be, your friend's wedding is going to be here before you know it. Right. Like, it's just one of those things. It's like, oh shit. Like I thought I was taking action, but now it's like next month, September, like here we are, you know? All right, let's kind of talk about what it's going to take for you specifically. Because I feel like, well, with our program, we customize everything because as you know, every nurse is very different. We all have different lifestyles. We all have different shifts. We all have different types of work. We all have different types of stress while we're at work. So you can't like, I guess, keep trying to fit in the mold of these programs like Herbalife, like cool, Herbalife, you get to drink shakes twice a day and eat once a day and have to eat 6 times a day or whatever those little things are. Like, okay, let's be real. Let's do something that actually fits your lifestyle instead of trying to like fit this other program or mold or whatever it is. Because realistically, like if it did truly work, then it would work for everybody, but it's not because it's not built for you. So I think when it comes down to anyone to have like a successful fitness journey, it really comes down to 3 things: nutrition, workouts, and accountability.
So I think we're transitioning to the pitch a little bit too soon here, and not too soon in terms of time. If you've got her, you can, I mean, a discovery can be 7 minutes long sometimes, but too soon because I don't think we've found what I've kind of explained it to our sales team, what we call it the silver bullet. The silver bullet is the thing at the bottom of all those threads. And it's like, all right, this girl wants to make this change. She's dying. She's sure. And so usually we get to that really part where it's like, all right, she's got to do this. There's no way she can give me an objection based off the shit she just told me. I'm looking for that kind of thing. And then usually the next question I'll ask for a fitness sales call, it's a little bit different in our industry, but for a fitness sales call, I'll say, okay, well, really, there are 2 parts to this and we can fix those problems. The other part of this though, is obviously your willingness to do it. So in order for me to tell you what this is going to look like, I need to know this. Everything you just told me, are you interested in fixing that? Are you committed to fixing that? I'm committed. That plants the little seed in her brain. She's telling you she's committed. At the end of this, she's not going to tell you she's not committed if she's already telling herself that. So more digging, more discovery, 1 question to get her buy-in. Like, do you want to do this? Or are you just kind of like shopping around? You kind of just like, it sounds kind of good. It sounds kind of like the past bullshit you've done and Herbalife and whatever. Or like, are you actually committed to fixing this problem now? Because I know I can do it, but a lot of this lies on your shoulders. But you can pull that authority back when she's in that state of desperation. That's like, yeah, my life fucking sucks because of this thing I'm not addressing.
And those I like to call them, I guess, the pillars of success. And so when it comes to nutrition, I find a lot of women when they want to lose weight is, you know, doing restrictive diets, replacing meals, cutting out carbs, cutting out alcohol, cutting out whatever they like to go out and eat. And I feel like you can do good for a period of time, whether it be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe even a month. And then there's going to be a stressful day at work or a potluck in the break room because Lord knows that happens all the time, or date night out with your boyfriend, or you want to get drinks with the girls one night. And that one night, like that one cheat meal turns into maybe a day or a weekend or even a week. And then it's like, okay, no, I gotta get back on track. Let's back on the wagon. Let's go. So what we do is we have our energized eating method. And with that, we take what you're already eating and make subtle tweaks to your diet and habit changes to ultimately help you regain energy, feel confident, but ultimately lose the weight without having to restrict things like date night, like drink nights out, or like a date night or a girls night out or whatever it might be. And you are still able to see the results.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And what questions on nutrition do you have?
I mean, really nothing. I guess, well, like tracking, I guess, all of that. How huge of a thing is that? And I only say that because I think it gives me anxiety, like doing the whole MyFitnessPal thing.
Sure.
And like, if I forget something or if I can't find it on there, and only because I really don't find it, I think it's kind of stupid to pay like $20 a month to use my fitness pal just to use the barcode. You know what I mean? The barcode portion of that, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, everyone has their own approach. So if after, because we do a metabolic assessment where we will have you track your days for a period of time, if that's something that just is bringing anxiety or whatever the case may be, we have different methods to meet you what feels good to help you get the results. Tracking is just one method. It's not our only, like, you have to do this.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I said, this is not like we have typical protocols, but everyone is different, right? Just like our patients, like just because one patient has this diagnosis, like obviously it's going to present differently in this patient and might have to do different things. Like, yes, I guess you can think of it that way.
Okay.
What is it?
I mean, nothing I can really think of, I guess, off the top of my head.
Okay. Next is workouts. So again, what I find women doing when they want to lose weight is feeling like they have to go.
So she threw 2 objections at you right there, and you handled one of them really well. And I think we kind of skipped over the $20 thing. That's immediately like, this girl has so much scarcity and this is going to be a problem later. So what I might have said in that situation is, okay, cool. So we're talking about 2 separate things. Totally get that you don't want to track. Don't worry about that. We don't have to do that. There's a bazillion other ways we do it. Our clients have success doing XYZ. I think you handled that one really well. But the other thing you said, let's pretend that MyFitnessPal would help you lose these 15 pounds. Would you pay $20 a month for that? Like, let's pretend the tracking was annoying. Isolate the other problem. Would you pay $20 for that? Well, yeah, of course. Would you? How much would you pay for that? Like, how much would you pay if you could solve this problem and have it like off forever? I'm just curious how big a problem it is for you or whatever. And if she says a low number, then you get to kind of work through that before you're actually talking about your program and having a sales conversation. So if she's like 100, seriously, $100 to lose 15 pounds, feel awesome. All the things you told me before for the rest of your life. That's $100 for you. Because for me, I went through this. I go back, I'd pay 20 grand. I would pay half of my nursing salary to feel the way that I feel right now. Let's talk about that. And I'm not trying to be your mindset coach or anything here, but it feels to me that maybe there's a little bit of self-worth coming out, or, do you spend money on yourself regularly? See how that can go down the whole thread of getting that objection out of the way beforehand?
Yeah, I really like that.
We'll keep moving along. Oh, one other quick thing. Well, I'll wait till after the pillars.
The gym 6 or 7 days a week, doing tons and tons of cardio to feel like that, you're getting a good burn. You're going to lose weight if you do like all those hours of cardio. When in reality, I feel like you never end up getting the results you want. You end up burning out because that's just unrealistic with working 12-hour shifts. And you end up like working harder and not smarter. And that's kind of where we think opposite. So we have the 30-minute training system. And in the 30-minute training system, we ask for a minimum of 3 30-minute sessions a week where we help build you plans that are going to help you ultimately get those results of losing the 15 to 20 or 25 pounds you kind of mentioned, like maybe closer to 25 pounds, with working smarter instead of harder. So you're doing the things that are actually going to help you lose the weight and tone up without like spinning your wheels when you're going to the gym.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. That's my motto with work, is to work smart, not hard. So right. Yeah, I've literally always said that. Like, please work smart, not hard.
Exactly. Because why? Like, if you can do it more efficiently and more effectively, doesn't make sense. Like, so, questions on the training?
No.
Okay. Last is accountability. And I feel like accountability is the glue that truly holds results together, right? Because you could have an amazing workout plan. You could have this awesome meal plan, but like, what is that going to do for you if you're not committing to yourself and following through, right? Yep. So we have the triple layer accountability system where you get different layers of accountability so where you never feel like, oh my God, I'm alone. I'm not getting my questions answered. I feel like I'm doing this all on my own. Like, we are here for you many different ways. So I like to protect the integrity of the women we work with. So that's kind of why I do these calls, is because I'm pretty protective of who I say yes to and like bring into the team. As you know, like, right, like you can have that one nurse that's just like, hey, she's working today, so that means this is how today's going to go, or you know what I mean? So, and I feel like a lot of times you can get through some of the shittiest of days with the team that you're on. So we have, all of us are a team, and we have a group chat, we share things, we do different challenges within our own clients and things like that. So that's layer 1. Layer 2 is Gabby, who she's the success coach. So she is there navigating your week-to-week check-ins, helping you tips, tricks, tools to really help ensure that you're getting the best results for yourself, giving you that weekly feedback on your check-ins. And then you're getting the accountability of me as your head coach as that top tier. Second set of eyes looking down, really making sure like, okay, we're doing everything for you to ensure your results are being had. Do those 3 levels make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
And what questions on accountability do you have?
Nothing really. Yeah. I mean, it all makes sense.
Okay. How does it sound so far?
Good.
And let's just talk about the process a little bit, because a lot of people are like, okay, well, this all sounds good, but like, what does it look like for me? Right? Like once you get in. So we do weekly check-ins. And like I said, they're comprehensive, because I feel like it would be like going into your patient and doing only focused exams like every single time you see your patient, instead of like taking a step back and doing your head to toes, right? Like you could miss something. So in our check-ins, we like to check on sleep.
When I wrap up the pillars, rather than asking, do you have any questions about that? I like to say something along the lines of, does what I just explained, do you think that will help you succeed? Do you think that will help you lose the 20 pounds? Is that what you've been looking for? Getting them to say yes, rather than no, I don't have any questions. And then you could follow up with like, was it all clear? Does it make sense how we do that? Then you can ask, but I like to get them a micro commitment after every pillar. Cool. Was there anything in that you're thinking, man, that's just not going to cut it for me? No, it all sounded awesome.
Hunger, recovery, energy, digestion, stress, because those are all signals of your hormones. We like to keep track of your cycle too, just to see, I know you're on birth control, but if there's any kind of just irregularities, these are all things of or signals of our hormones. If we're noticing like red flag after red flag, like sleep being a very quality issue, then there's probably some lifestyle factors that we're going to have to change around to help with that biofeedback. Okay. Makes sense? Yeah. So we do those thorough weekly check-ins. Like I said, we have the group chat. All of the workouts and everything is delivered through a fitness app. So your workouts are delivered right there. So you can go into the gym, have your checklist, go through, do your workouts, write down like your weights, your reps, your sets, those kinds of things, save it. That way the next week you can say, okay, what did I do last week? And like, can I push it this week? Can I go a little heavier? Can I like push my strength? Those kinds of things people love. It's like having a personal trainer in your pocket. You get little,
I definitely like that too. For sure.
You get little video tutorials if it's like, okay, what kind of exercise is this? Or what are you talking about? That kind of thing. The weekly check-ins are all through there. Communication, like the group chat, one-on-one chat with Gabby and myself are in there. We do monthly community calls just to connect, educate, learn, those kinds of things. We're actually going to have our first in-person retreat in April. So that'll be fun to just meet up, see each other face to face, which is going to be a super fun, I guess, little girls weekend away.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like what questions on all of that do you have?
No, really nothing. Yeah.
Nothing? Okay.
No, honest. I mean, I don't, this is like so weird, but like, even like school wise, like, I don't ever really have questions until I guess like I start doing it and like think, you know what I mean? Like that way, that's just kind of always how I, even literally every time when teachers are like, oh, like what questions, you know what I mean? I'm usually like, no, nothing, you know, like my mentor that I have like for school, like, you know, she's always like, you know, you don't have any questions, no question. No, I'll email you if I do, you know? Yeah. That's I am. So
no, honestly, I feel like I'm the same way. And I always thought like I was like the weird one, because like they're like questions. I'm like, no, like I feel like once I get in and like I'm a pretty can kind of figure out for myself person, I feel like. But if I do have questions, it's usually like while I'm going through the things and it's like, okay, wait, now I've got a question. Like, so I feel like I'm the same way. And I thought like I was just the only weird one like that. Because usually on these calls, people always have tons of questions. So I'm like, really? No questions?
Yeah. I literally, and then like, it's funny because like somebody will ask the question, like, oh, like I could have thought of that. I got, you know, but yeah, I really am. I'm a huge, again, like I said with school, it's this, once I start doing something like, then I kind of, I'm like, oh, okay. But a lot of things too is even school, and work, I try to figure out things before, like for myself. And I've been like just a very independent person, with a lot of things in life, that I'd rather figure it out or try to figure it out myself, before I ask questions, you know?
Sure. No, that totally makes sense. People, like I said, everyone has different learning styles too. And that's why I feel like as we go through this program, we like to give you that as well. Because again, our job is to ultimately like help you understand, okay, how do I fuel my metabolism properly? Because a lot of women, like, we don't know that. Like, it's not something they teach us in nursing school. It's not something that's just like common knowledge. So that's why I think it's really important. When we start anyone, we do a metabolic assessment. So let's just say like we take this week and all of next week as I like to call it like a free week, prep week, orientation, whatever you call it. But during that time, we're understanding your body too. We're doing a metabolic assessment. We're seeing how your body responds and kind of like where you're going to start, right? Because like I said, we're not the program to like bring anyone in, crash diet them just to get the results. You want to do this once and for all, right? You don't want to keep losing these like 15, 20 pounds over and over and over, right? So let's do it the right way. Let's do it according to like the way that science works. And I think that's like the nursing me, just evidence-based practice. I know I like to keep that word when I was in grad school.
I won't do that.
I'm like, look, but now I like it.
I was like, I'm not going to stop you on that. So what you're doing here is the reason, do you have any questions, is like such a bad question is because like what she's telling you right there. But I can tell kind of what you're doing is you can tell it's not time to drop the price yet because it doesn't feel like that spot yet. So you're overselling rather than letting her sell herself. So if we would have said, so does everything I went over, or do you feel like that's going to help you? Do you feel like that's going to help you lose 15 pounds? She says, yeah. When someone says, yeah, sure. I'm like, for real? Like, you've been trying to lose this 15 pounds for years and you had a 30-minute conversation with me and you're sure you're not nervous about how the accountability goes. You're just, I'll just be able to give you your diet. You're just going to do it. Like you're 100%, you're good. And then they're kind of like, well, tell me about how this works. And then it pulls you know, you'll talk about the things that they need to talk about to sell them, rather than like, all right, she doesn't have any questions. So what feature can I highlight of the program that I think is important? So let me teach her about metabolism. That might be the least of her fears and worries.
It makes sense. Like it makes sense why we do what we do. So that's where we do that metabolic assessment. We see where you're at and we really map out the pathway for you of like, okay, are you in a spot to truly lose the weight right away? Or do we need to do maybe a metabolic reboot first before we go into any kind of like fat loss phase? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I like to be very upfront with that because I know we've had people lose 5, 10, 15, 20, even 30 pounds in like 90 days, but that's not always the norm. Some people have to work their metabolism first before we go into like a dieting phase. And it might take a little longer, but the thing is, you're not going to have to like lose the weight just to gain it back. Like that's, to me, that's like not fair.
Yeah.
So I guess here's my question to you. So typically we start people with a 90-day, I guess, upfront program. From there, people tend to continue on, go through our elite program. If they haven't met their goals, if they were in a metabolic reboot and now they get to go into a dieting phase, whatever the case may be. I know your friend's wedding is in September. Mm-hmm. What would be a fair timeline to be like, I'm going to commit to this for X amount of time? Like, would it be safe to say, because like to lose 25 pounds, I would say that's going to take a solid 6 months, losing it and getting back to maintenance.
Yeah, no, that's really what I was just about to say too. So probably 6 months.
Okay. I just, like I said, like I feel like it would be wrong to be like, let's just start you with 90 days and then just have you like, continue on.
Right.
Or we could just say, let's commit for 6 months because that seems like a more realistic time. I guess what feels better for you? Because I'm open to both. I just want to do what's best for you.
I mean, probably the 6 months.
Okay. Yeah. Just start with the 6 months. I think that honestly makes more sense. That way it gives us, it's January, right? So by the time we get started, I'm looking down at my calendar. So if we take this week and next week as like your free weeks or your prep weeks, then that puts us at an official like start date of the 6 months at the 30th of January. So then you're thinking really it's February, March, April, May, June, and July as like those 6 months, which gives you, again, a good amount of time before September to like lose that. That's good?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just writing this down. Because like I said, I'm very much like, let's just start with the 90 days. But I just feel like because you have more of a specific deadline, I guess, that it just makes more sense to like, okay, let's just do the 6 months up front.
Right.
Fair?
Yeah.
Okay. 6 months. Okay. And then if you don't have any other questions, let's just talk about what that investment looks like for the 6 months. So
yeah, we need another tie down there. And that's where the scale of 1 to 10 question is really good. It gives you a good temp check and lets you know, can we move or can we not move? So cool. Well, one last question before we get into stuff that I'm sure you're curious about. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like, this has been a horrible waste of my time and I wish I wanted to hop on this call. And 10 being like, hell yeah, this all makes perfect sense. It seems like the exact thing that I need and I want to move forward. Where do you fall? Because if she says anything less than an 8, then you get to question why. And that's a way better question than do you have any more questions about it? Then she has to think about it. Hey, you just told me. But adversely, she says 10, then we get to use that in the future as well if an objection does come up, which we'll get into that and how we can handle that.
If with the prep week, the 6 months, which comes out to, I believe, 6 times 4 is about 24 weeks. So a 24-week commitment, that would be a payment of $3,600.
Okay. Which is like what a month? What is that a month?
$600
a month.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously definitely something that I have to like play around with. Just like with all like my student loans and all that stuff. So
sure.
Okay.
And we could also break it down into weekly payments.
Okay.
Let's see if you did weekly payments.
Oh, cool. So the minute a price objection comes up, the first thing I do is I don't make a concession right away. Because 90% of the time you're not actually having a price discussion anyway. So here's what I would have said. She's like, yeah, I'll have to think about it, blah, blah. Like, you can tell she's a little bit nervous. Totally. Yeah, it's an investment. I absolutely get that. But do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions? And then you go back. are you still like, you're still trying to lose these 20 pounds, right? That's the goal. That's what we're trying to do. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I want to do. Cool. And the challenge that you're facing is blah, 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 which I don't know that we really got into that as deeply as we could, but I think we could have gotten into it and then used that ammo that's like in the challenge that you're facing is everything that you've tried in the past has forced you to be in the gym 7 days a week. And, you know, now with our 30-minute workouts, it'll work or whatever. But so you still want to do this, you're still running into this. And then the last question is, I can pull up the exact script, but it's like, do you think and do you agree that everything that we talked about can help you hit that goal? So yeah, I do. Cool. So all we have to do is figure out the money. Awesome. That's my favorite part of my job. I love doing that. We can get into that. We can figure out the money. If she says no on any of those, and on that third question, I drill it down a little bit. If she's like, yeah, I'm like, really? Yeah. Like, you're sure you don't have any questions about any of that? We just talked for 30 minutes and you're absolutely sure that this is going to do it. Cause I want to be here. I want to answer all your questions. You're sure? You're sure? And then she's like, well, I don't really know. It sounds like the last thing I did, like get them to the surface. But if we can clear them all out, then we talk about money. It's challenging though, because we didn't drill down further earlier in the call. So the first time we become that objection handler, if it's when the prices drop, then it gets a little bit awkward. So I always say that the best way to not get an objection, the best way to handle objections is to not get them in the first place. So yes, we could do this stuff, but just all the other advice I've given up to this point would have set us up so much better. If you, for example, would have cracked the $20 thing and really gotten into that and like framed the call and got her to be like, yeah, I don't know, I guess it would be worth $10,000. Then we could be like, all right, so it's $600 a month. We know that it's worth it. Let's just have the money discussion then. Cool. And so I'll watch and make sure I don't give feedback on anything that you did say, because we can get further into how to have the money discussion. But biggest thing is just stop them. Anytime financial thing comes up first, yeah, totally. No, I get it. It's an investment. Do you mind if I ask you a couple questions rather than start talking about money?
150.
150. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. Obviously, give me like a little bit, just like kind of like look into like everything and whatnot. So,
is there anything that I can answer for you better?
No. Honestly, I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward. So,
okay. Money aside, is it something that you're like, yeah, I totally want to do this? Sounds like something different than I've ever done.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. All right. When do you want to connect again? And
probably sometime next week. Because I've got stuff going on tomorrow. I work Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah, I've got stuff going on like all weekend too. So,
okay. Is this something you really want to do?
I mean, it is. And again, though, I think I know they always say like money's an investment. I think that's always been the hard part for me, because it's like I live on my own. I have my rent, and my student loans and stuff like that, which is why I took the job that I have now. To like pay all that off, my car and all that stuff too. So plus like doing like I have like accounts that I like put money into, like a Roth IRA and that too. So and I just started putting more money into those. So
yeah, I just like to ask because usually, I mean, especially if you live on your own, you have a good idea of what your budget is, right? Like, you know, kind of what you can and can't afford. So that's why I'm like, why string this along and wait until next week? Because it doesn't take a week to figure out your budget, right? Like
sitting down to figure it all out. I mean, no, I mean, it takes a couple hours, I guess, for me to do it, but.
So what do you feel like you could afford? Let me ask that.
Yeah, you're killing it here in terms of handling the financial objections. I think the problem is, I don't think it's a financial objection. I think it's I have a limiting belief around something. I'm not sure if it's going to work. It's a value objection. So you could back up here and be like, so here's the thing. It's not really that we usually don't have the money, because we find money for things that hold the value. So I want to back up, because I think we're having the wrong conversation. Because if I were to sell you my house right now, and let's say the house is worth 500K, you could turn around and you could put it back on the market tomorrow for 500K. And I said it was 10 grand, you'd find 10 grand, even though you didn't have 10 grand, because you'd see the value. So that's when you can go back and ask the question again, do you really think that we can help you lose these 20 pounds and lose them for life? Okay, cool. So do you think that is valued at $600 a month? Because I mean, you pay what, $500 a month for your car, and you're driving your body 24/7, and your car doesn't give you confidence. Your car doesn't, you can draw it back to something else. Or you could then say, It is a lot of money, but a lot of money, like compared to what? Because if you were to have a private nutritionist and a personal trainer that you're seeing every day, it's actually fairly cheap. But if you're comparing it to a gym membership, then of course, you know, it's a lot of money. Or if you're comparing it to your toothbrush, that's a lot of money. So you get a chance to anchor it again. I think in her case, though, she doesn't see the value. So we got to back up. And I think all of the rapport stuff that we touched on and the drilling a little bit deeper and really getting her in that place where she feels like, man, I have an expensive problem on my hands. I'm ready to fix it. I've crossed everything off. If I get off the phone here, nothing's going to change. I've got to do this. She's just got to be in a little bit more pain.
I truthfully don't even know. I really don't even know. And I think like that's because I haven't really been forced to have to like sit down to like look, I guess, at like all my monthly bills and all that in like a really long time.
Okay.
You know?
No, that's fair. I'm not like,
yeah, no,
I'm just curious. Okay, cool. So next week for sure, you feel like that would give you plenty of time?
Yeah.
Okay, let's connect then. And then we can kind of talk over like, okay, let's get started. Because if we connect next week, then I'd probably give you an extra week free. Just because that would push back like the end of this week. Does that kind of make sense? Then we'd probably be looking more at like beginning of February start date.
Okay.
And then we can kind of go over next steps, getting you onboarded, meeting with Alyssa, who's my onboarding manager, and then Gabby, which you've seen from already. And just kind of like getting you all enrolled and going from there. Okay. And if any questions come up, or if you feel like, hey, what if we could do it this way? Like I can be pretty flexible as far as like payments go. If it's like, what if we did like $1,000 down now and like split it up into different kind of payment plans?
Okay.
Fine by me.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, we will connect next week. I hope you have a good week with your.
All right. Summer. So Summer's on the call. She's a closer for IFCA, and she's actually going to take this call for me next week as well. So Summer, I'd love to hear any feedback that you have too. I don't know if you were on the whole time.
I was on and I was listening. I dropped it in the chat, but the question about like, what is like, typically I like to ask this in the discovery, but since she was like creating these objections, when you backtracked and you're like, let's get on the same page again, like, what is it going to cost you to not fix this? How is it going to feel when you go to that wedding and you still feel like this? You know, all of those things. And something that I like to do is I always type or handwrite my notes. I have a notebook. It's a disaster. And I circle things or I write the exact word they said and I star it so that I make sure I always am using their verbiage, because I don't want to like ever like twist their verbiage and then make it seem like I'm amplifying it or twisting it. So if they're like, I really struggle with confidence, I'm not going to say like, I know you feel embarrassed. Like that just sounds so different. So try and make note of the things they're saying that are important to them, because then you can use those as tie downs too in your pitch. I would say that is going to be the biggest thing is like, as soon as she even brought up the $20 for my fitness pal, be like, well, why wouldn't you do that if it's going to help you? Like just as soon as you see those little objections coming up early, if we can break them in the beginning, hopefully they don't resurface at the end. But really what Erin said, like I probably wouldn't have pitched yet because I felt like I didn't know for sure. She was like, hell yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Something that I always relate it to is like a guy doesn't ask a girl to marry him unless he's pretty sure she's going to say yes. So you're looking for that one thing. And I would sometimes if I'm really like, man, I've asked this girl every question, she's just not doing it. I'll just go at that angle. I'll kind of be like, you know what? I don't know. I don't know if this will help you or not, because I'm not getting what I usually get on these calls. You like, because I have to judge the character on this call, and I need to know if you need to follow through, and I need to know if you want this bad enough. And I can't free up a spot on my assistant coach's roster unless I know. So like, then ask the question again, like whatever you can do to make her be like, I need this, I need help. Kelsey, does that answer the question you just asked though? Awesome. So I'll go down the chat because I know we had a couple questions here, and then Soraya, I'll summarize this for you too, because sometimes with call reviews, you have a million things thrown at you and you're like, okay, cool. I don't know how to sell anymore. I don't even know how to approach my next call. I'll give you 3 things. Just go to your next call and do 1, 2, 3, and that'll take up 80% of what we're talking about.
Very cool.
Omar, I think you had a question.
I did. Mine's a two-part question, if it's okay. So to your point of when you mentioned, we've got to find that silver bullet and then go into the pitch after that. Do you think it's helpful at any point in that phase to let them have a little bit of a sense of control? Meaning, like, say something like, and let me pull up the way we do it. So basically we say something like, hey, you go through the discovery phase, you get all the questions, and then at that point be like, hey, I don't really have any more questions for you. So where do you want to go from here? I can walk you through our full XYZ method. But you tell me, do you want to learn more about that? And letting them have a little bit of control to kind of start being like, okay, this is something you want to do. Do you think that's helpful?
I do. I think it depends on the kind of person that you're speaking to.
Mhm.
If the person's more submissive, then I think the whole time you can lead and they're looking to you to lead. And if you ask someone like that a question, they're almost like, I don't know, like you tell me, what do you do next? But if someone really seems to have their shit together, if they're a professional, if they, they seem to have everything together in their life, you take that, I think taking that step back works really well. The psychological benefit to it is you get their buy-in. You're like, do you want to know about our program? They're like, yes. So then they have more buy-in to listen to it. So I think that can work in the right context.
Okay, awesome. And then question number 2, the biggest thing for me that I always get into trouble with is I put more words into their, like when I go through the discovery phase, I tend to summarize a little bit more instead of letting them tell me their pain points.
Mhm.
So how do you get good at question asking to the point where they tell you, yes, this is not only going to affect, obviously how I feel, but also like my confidence and how I show up with my family or stuff like that.
Yeah. Were you on when I talked about the game of like pulling the thread?
I did, yeah.
I think that's the number one way to do it.
Okay.
You asking a question off the question off the question. If you get 7 layers deep, they're finally going to tell you the thing rather than you having to extrapolate the thing.
Yeah.
It just takes a little bit of patience.
Okay. Do you think part of it is doing those tie down questions? Like, so it sounds like, or what I'm hearing that, or not tie down, but like re-summarizing their thoughts to them and then kind of going into that back and forth. Would that help a little bit as well?
Yeah, we do that as part of our script before we dive into the pillars.
Mhm.
So we'll like Summer or PJ will take all their notes and be like, okay, cool. I have a pretty good picture here. We covered a lot of ground. What I'm hearing is blah, 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 blah. Does that all sound fair? Or does that sound like, about the problem that we're looking at and the thing we need to tackle? I think that ties a good bow on it before you move in. And then you can ask too, like, anything else? And that will offer up the opportunity to give more information.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so Lori said the interested or committed question. I always get the committed response. How do you handle it when they get to the investment and say their commitment has to be sacrificed for their family? Sure, working. It's so hard to answer those questions, Lori, like circumstantially, usually it's something in the discovery that we didn't go deep enough on, but my canned response that like I always go to the minute anyone has an objection, I don't care what it is yeah, totally. No, I absolutely understand that you have to remodel your kitchen and that money's all already allocated. Nobody has extra money. Even if you have extra money, you don't have like a pot of it sitting over here. Do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions and then go to the 3 questions? Is this the goal you're still trying to achieve? Is this the challenge that you're having? Do you think IFCA can solve it for you? Do you think, my program and everything we talked about can solve it for you? We have to go back and pretend the financial objection is fake. Pretend it's a smokescreen because 80% of the time it is. So, okay, cool. You have a financial objection. I'm going to pretend like you don't. So I'm going to go back and ask you some other questions. Do you still have this goal? Do you still have this challenge? Do you still think this can solve it? And try to get them to say no to one of them, because then you get to work on that objection. And it's like, all right, we had a money conversation. It got awkward for you. We're going to remove all that awkwardness and we're going to talk about the other things again. And if they're like, yeah, I want to do it, then it gives you an opportunity to go from your side of the table to their side of the table. You're now working together, not against one another, and say, oh, cool. We just have to figure out the money then. Awesome. Easy. We can do that. So we could break this up into payments. What do you think you could comfortably put down? Because I'm more than happy to come up with a payment plan that is fair to you, but also fair to the company. Sound good? There's a lot of things you can throw out, but the biggest thing is don't jump to, we can do payments, or don't even tackle that objection. Don't be like, well, you have a new kitchen, but wouldn't you rather have confidence rather than a new kitchen? You don't want to hit it head on. You want to pretend it's not real.
Okay, thank you. That's really helpful.
Natalie, if you end up not pitching someone, does that count as a loss in your closing percentage? So we look at our stats as call to close. And then we also have an offer to close, but call to close is what we really look at. But like that data is important for a lot of reasons, because marketing and sales goes into the data. So if you're doing something in your marketing to get leads that you can never offer, you want that data too. Okay. So Soraya, I want to give you your like top three. I think these few things will drive 80% of the results of your next call. I would do a stronger frame at the beginning, clearing out we don't think about it here. We're like, people do it in so many different ways. I like my wording. I got on a call once and it was all masculine and it was all like action takers make decisions. Well, and I was like, ew, I'm saying no right now. I already know I'm saying no. So you have to find your way of doing it. I really like look, let's just be real. I know I don't go sit in my rocking chair and think about things. So I usually know. All I ask is that you're straight up with me. Tell me no, I don't care. Tell me yes, but like by the end of this, I would love to know if we could just make a decision moving forward. So frame your call that way. Follow the thread, dig in, dig in, dig in. Do not pitch unless you're sure she's going to say yes, or pretty sure. And then, honestly, I think it's really just those two. That breaks into three. Frame, follow the thread and dig in, have a tie down question that makes you pretty sure if she's going to say yes or not. Any questions, anything for me, Soraya?
No, it's kind of intimidating. Like, I feel like I'm naked in the room right now.
It's the worst thing ever to listen to yourself on the phone like this.
No, but it was helpful. And like, I think just doing more thorough and like game tape of myself is probably going to be helpful as well. Something that I haven't gotten in practice of. So yeah, I think that this is really good.
Yeah. Early on in our business, we get a lot more warm leads and we don't have to develop the skill of sales as strongly. And then as we actually start learning how to be marketers, we have to learn how to sell because we're getting people on the phone that don't have as much trust. Cool. I have about 2 minutes. I do have to hop because we're installing a generator today and they want to turn our power off. And I'm like, you can't turn it off. You have to wait. But Summer, did you have something you want to share?
Yeah. Am I muted? Oh no. From Closer Academy, I have like this mass list of questions that I wrote, but this one I feel like is a really interesting way to tie it back and it might work for you. Bear with me because I'm taking it out of the perspective of like mentorship, so I'm on the fly, but it's basically saying like agreeing with whatever they had just said on the side of like why this may or may not work or whatever. And then I say, okay, got it. What I found is clients reach out to us for one of two reasons. They realize there's a distinct knowledge gap and they don't know what they don't know because they've just never done this before. The other one is they don't know if they know they could figure it out on their own, but they want to leverage a proven system to save them time in figuring it out on their own. Which one do you fall into? Because then it also it tells them like, oh shit, I really don't know what I'm doing and I don't want to waste the time. Because even though you're asking them, they're like, okay, yeah, I guess I don't want to sit on Google and do this for myself. It's only going to work with the right people, but I think with her, it would have worked because time was already a constraint too.
Yeah. What helps me is just having a bank of them that I can pull out and have my one steady go-to that always feels good. And it'll be whichever one you practice the most. Awesome. Cool, guys. Well,
And is that like your answer?
If they're saying
is that like the tie down question?
I don't know if I'm going to do this. I don't know. Like, I think it could work for me, but whatever. Okay. I get that. Like, let me ask you, which one of these two are you? And then they're going to be like, I guess I don't want to figure it out on my own. Like, do you agree with that, Erin?
Yeah, I do like it. I have a hard time making anything my own until I do it like 5 times. I'd have to see it in writing, say it out loud, practice it on a mock, and then be like, okay, I like this one. I can never just take face value advice, because if you're trying to read from a script, it's not gonna cut. It's all about how you're saying it.
I'll type it up and drop it in the Facebook group on the comments for this video.
That'd be awesome. Cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks for hanging around.
Bye, guys.
See ya.